India is soaring high on the world stage as the Indian artists are leaving no stone unturned to put their best foot forward. This year's Grammy Award ceremony is a testimony of that. Every Indian's heart was brimming with pride when Indian music composer Ricky Kej walked onto the stage along with rock legend Stewart Copeland to receive their award for the Best New Age album, Divine Tides. This is Ricky Kej's second Grammy, the first being conferred upon him in 2015 for his album Wind of Samsara. In an exclusive interview with PBNS, Ricky Kej expressed his thoughts on working with Stewart Copeland, what this awards means to him, and how prominent Indian musicians broke the cultural barriers.
First of all, thank you for having me. Now, the thing is that the kind of music that I make is not commercial music. The kind of music that I make is about the environment. It's about sustainability. It's about positive social impact. So for me, awards are not something about congratulations, you won, you're better than the others or whatever. It's not about vanity. It's about giving me a platform for me to, speak about the things that I feel are really important. As I mentioned, about positive social impact and about environmental issues and about celebrating various aspects of our environment, and also about about just raising awareness. So that's what this award is for me. It's a platform for me to do bigger and better things.
At the peak of pandemic, there was a musician scripting history with another legend goes with the name Stewart Copeland. He inspired Ricky Kej since his childhood days. We asked him about how he managed to get along to compose such a divine album. And secondly, how was his personal experience working with Mr. Copeland?
We musicians are used to working remotely for quite a while, because even up to about 6 or 7 years before the pandemic, we've always been collaborating with musicians all over the world and not necessarily traveling for those collaborations. We've been working on on various online platforms and remote recording sessions, recording our files and sending them across via email or via Dropbox and things like that. So we're completely used to doing that. It's just that during the pandemic, we did not have a choice, that we had to do this. So if we really wanted to also, sit in the same room and work, even though we were in different countries, it was just not possible. So in this particular case, that's exactly what we did. Stewart and I, Stewart worked in his studio in Los Angeles. I worked in my studio in Bangalore. And we had hundreds of Zoom calls, hundreds of emails, hundreds of WhatsApp calls and remote recording sessions and things like that. We used technology to our advantage. And at the end of it, we had an album which was very successful. And we also got nominated for the Grammy Award. But as you mentioned, we had not met each other in person. So it was quite an amazing experience to meet him a week before the Grammys. I met him at his concert in Nashville. So we spent some quality time over there. Then after that, we both went to Los Angeles. We spent some time over there. And then in Vegas for the Grammys. And then we shared a Grammy Award together on stage. So it was a fantastic experience to work with my childhood idol and to actually meet him and hug him in person.
He has a vast repertoire, 16 studio albums released internationally, over 3,500 commercials and 4 feature films, and now 2 Grammys to his credit. Still, he manages to get the Indianness that resonates with the audience worldwide. We asked him how he sees the niche genres working in a country like India.
See, the thing is that at the end of the day, India has got a very, very rich tradition when it comes to music. So you've got the classical musical forms like the North Indian and the South Indian classical music forms. You've got various folk forms, various tribal music forms, various ancient music forms, various languages in India, so various dialects. So the thing is that I believe that Indian music being defined as Bollywood music is not right, because at the end of the day, what is Bollywood music? Bollywood music is basically Western hip-hop music with Hindi lyrics. That's all it is. So you take like Western pop music and put Hindi lyrics to it and add like maybe a dhol or something to it, then it becomes Bollywood music. That's what it is. But it's not actually Indian music. It is it's basically Western music, Western pop music, which is made a little Indianized. So I believe that when it comes to the West itself, when they recognize Indian talent, they mainly recognize the classical talent. Like if you go on the streets of, let's say, New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco or even Moscow or any of the European nations, you name any of the Bollywood composers, nobody has heard of them, unless it's a person from the Indian diaspora. But if you mention any of the Bollywood composers to a native of that country, nobody's heard of them. But if you name Pandit Ravi Shankar, you name Ustad Zakir Hussain, you name Ustad Allah Rakha, you name any of these people, then immediately people recognize their names, because it's the classical musicians who have actually broken cultural barriers, and they've reached out to audiences which are not Indian audiences. They've reached out, of course, to Indian audiences, but they've reached out all over the world, and that's mainly because of the quality of music and because they've really strived towards that direction of breaking cultural barriers.
Since you've talked about the quality of music, my question is that, do you think for the quality of music, one has to go through a proper musical journey of understanding, learning, and not just, of course, if you are from West, then about the Western one, if you're from Europe, if you're from India, then the Indian classical notes. A particular classical journey is important, or musical journey is important for the person to have the best of the quality in music, or one can go with the passion that derives within either both of them? How do you see it?
There are a lot of musicians who are self-taught musicians who are really good at what they do. Lots of them, in fact. I've got a lot of friends who are self-taught musicians and they're real experts. But of course, I'm of the feeling that, in any art form, it's all about breaking the rules and moving that art form forward and by taking that art form to places that it's never been taken before, breaking the barriers and all of that stuff. But then in order to break the rules, one has to know the rules first. So that's why it's important to actually have a formal education in music if one wants to become a musician in any stream. It could be Indian classical music, it could be Western classical music, it could be jazz music, but it's very important to have some formal training in music so that you respect it as a profession.
If you have seen Ricky Kej's album, be it Divine Tides or Wind of Samsara or any other, he promotes sustainability and how one can contribute towards preserving the environment. Let's hear from him how he establishes the relation between environment and melodies.
So it's very, especially when one makes instrumental music, it's very difficult to actually make a video because instrumental music itself is very visually evocative and it opens up people's minds into a lot of imagination when they're listening to music. But then when you put a visual to it, you're actually spoon feeding to the audience as to what to think about when they're listening to the music. It's just like for example, the Harry Potter books. Anybody who's a fan of the Harry Potter books has never liked the movies because when they read the books, their imagination takes them to places which the movies do not take them. So because they imagine things differently, as the book. So it's the same thing with music. Putting visuals to it is always very difficult. So I'm not a filmmaker. So what I do is that I've got very good friends who are filmmakers. And, so what I do is that I just brief them. I give them an idea of what exactly I want. And then after that, I leave it completely up to them. And I don't get involved at all in the filmmaking process because I believe that, that you have to leave the professionals to do what they are best at. And for me, I'm good at the music part. And there are other people who are good at the filming part. So that's why. So I leave them to do what they want. And I've been very, very blessed to have really, really good filmmakers as friends who share their resources with me. They do not charge me a huge amount of money, but yet they're super professional and they make some very good videos.
I won't agree with you, some good, but it was really fantastic videos, like something out of the world videos here. The key areas that you have always focused is, of course, environment and sustainability. But what are the other key issues that you feel that your music will have in the future, and audience will get to see the interaction of music and other important issues that you think is there?
So for me, the thing is that whenever you're talking about the environment, when you're talking about sustainability, there are always two ways to go about it. One is basically showing doom and gloom, like in the sense that everything is going wrong in this world and, you're at fault and you're to blame and, you need to do something right now and all of that stuff, So basically that is one approach, shaming people into action. And then the second approach is basically inspiring people into action by showing the beauty of our planet, and hopefully people see that beauty and through that love for the planet, they will find it within themselves to conserve, to protect, and to sustain. So I've always preferred to go the second route because I believe that positive reinforcement is far more powerful, and showcasing love is a much more powerful tool to actually, get people to bring about change and to inspire people into change. So that's something that I'm going to continue doing, to continue showcasing positivity through music, and make everyone fall in love with the natural world. And hopefully through that love, we'll all find it within ourselves to protect our beautiful, beautiful planet.
Every artist needs inspiration to do things in life. Ricky Kej also had his share of inspiration from some prominent musicians, which he took along his musical journey.
there are many people who've inspired me in my life. One of them being, I remember when I was in school, I think I was in 6th standard, and I had listened to a song by Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. It was a song called Tadhim. And I remember I was listening to it on my Walkman. At that time, we had these cassette tapes, which we used to put into, these portable players and with headphones. And I put that tape in and I listened to that song. And I'd never listened to Sufi music before in my life. And and I listened to that song, and I remember that, I wasn't feeling sad or anything like that, but I was just, getting tears in my eyes while I was listening to it. And I did not know why that was happening. And then I realized that it was just an overwhelming feeling, of many, many emotions coming together while listening to it. So that music had a very profound effect on me. And, and that is one day I realized that, that music is such a powerful, powerful medium where it can have that kind of an effect on people. And I wanted to have that effect on other people. And then I remember that listening to Pandit Ravi Shankar, that, that he took his sitar, and his Indian classical music tradition, and he traveled all over the world, and he played with so many different kinds of musicians and collaborated with so many musicians around the world, and and popularized Indian classical music all over the world, and broke cultural barriers, as I said earlier in the interview, and got people who would normally never listen to Indian music, got them to listen to music and understand the culture and the traditions of India. So he was a huge, huge inspiration for me. And then there was this other band called Junoon, another Pakistani band. And I remember that the singer of that band, a guy called Ali Azmat, he had a voice similar to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, like a very Sufi voice. But at the same time, that band had electric guitars in it. And it had rock drums and electric guitars. And that's what made me start thinking that, that if it just because it's Sufi music, that does not mean it has to be just, tablas and claps and harmonium and voice, Or just because it's rock music, that does not mean that it needs to have just guitars, Western vocals, and, bass and drums, you just have to make a good song at the end of the day. And whatever gets into that song, it could be any kind of an instrument. It could be any tradition from anywhere in the world. It could be any language or whatever. All that one needs to make is good music. So then that is when these are the people who inspired me to think that, that there are no genres in this world, like rock, pop, jazz, heavy metal. There's no genres in this world. There are only two genres in this world, good music and bad music. So I just hope to make good music. That's all.
To achieve the highest ladder of success, one has to believe in themselves. This belief is all it takes, as in the case of Grammy Award winner Ricky Kej.
See, the thing is that if you're an artist, then there'll always be an innate need to express yourself, and there'll be an innate need to constantly create art. Because for me, as an artist, as a musician, I'm constantly making new music. I'm constantly have new ideas for creating new pieces of music. Even while I'm talking to you, there is sort of like, music going on in my head as to like, what would be sort of like a background score for this conversation. So music cannot leave you. If you're a musician, music cannot leave you. Now, the thing is that there are people who do music as a job. Like, for example, like music directors in the movie industry. That a director comes to them and gives them a brief that this is a script, and, and we need 4 songs. 3 songs are love songs. 1 song is an item song. Like, these villains walk into a bar and there is a girl dancing over there, and like, make a song on that. So basically, a brief is given to them, and they have to make music based on the brief. So these are the kind of people who have things like writer's block, because they have to deliver by a certain time period, and they have to deliver based on a deadline, and they have to deliver based on the sensibilities of somebody else. Because at the end of the day, if the director and the producer, or in some cases even the actor, if they don't like the song, then the song is going to get rejected. So they have to constantly keep thinking in terms of what will that person like, or what will an audience like, or what will work, or what are the current trends. So whereas for me, I don't think in those terms. So for me, it's all about that when I wake up in the morning, if I feel like making music, or if I'm inspired enough to make music, I make music. If I'm not, then I don't make music. So that's the way it is. And if you look at artists in general, like if you look at a person like Vincent van Gogh, or if you look at a person like Raja Ravi Verma, these great artists, the thing about them is that when they are making a new painting, they're not going to go to all the neighboring art galleries and say that, what is everybody doing? Let me do something similar. What are the current trends? Like what is in vogue right now? Let's do something like that. They're just going to make something which they feel like making, something that they're inspired to make. And I believe that music also should be that kind of a medium. where only if you're inspired to make music, you should make music, not when you're forced to make music.
In this whole conversation with Ricky Kej, we understood his musical ideology, journey and more. We will be back with more such stories on PBNS. Till then, thank you for watching.